Welcome to the Explainer. So, have you ever noticed something, well, kind of weird about yourself? Today, we're going to completely untangle this massive universal paradox. We're looking at a fascinating piece of behavioral analysis that uncovers exactly why our minds inexplicably pull us toward the very things we claim to absolutely hate. It's a deep dive into the hidden programming that dictates so much of what we do, and honestly, understanding it is the very first step to finally breaking free. Why do we choose things that hurt us? I mean, it's a question we've literally all asked ourselves at some point, right? You say you want peace, you say you want happiness, you want a perfectly calm life, but somehow you actively sabotage it. You keep going back to the exact things that drag you down. You just invite the drama right back in. It feels incredibly frustrating, doesn't it? It feels like you're fighting a losing battle against your own mind. And it shows up in so many incredibly relatable ways. Like maybe you find yourself drawn to the exact same type of toxic people time and time again, even when you swear you finally learned your lesson. Or maybe your mind insists on overthinking every single little detail at 2 a.m. when you are exhausted and just want to sleep. Or perhaps you find yourself falling right back into the same broken habits you genuinely promised yourself you'd quit. If this sounds like you, I want you to know right now, returning to what hurts you isn't a failure. Actually, scratch that. It's not because you're weak or fundamentally flawed at all. It is a deeply ingrained psychological pattern, and today we are going to decode exactly how it works. Section 1. The familiar dark room. Understanding your brain's secret algorithm. All right, so let's dive right into this. To understand why we do this, we really need to look at our brain's hidden logic. The wild truth is, pain can actually start to feel like comfort. Not because you enjoy it, but simply because you recognize it. Your brain secretly says to itself, yeah, this pain, I know this one. I'm comfortable here. It sounds completely counterintuitive, but your brain evolved to prioritize survival, not joy. And to a survival-focused brain, predictability is always prioritized over actual happiness. Think about your brain's dilemma like a choice between two dark rooms. Imagine you walk into a completely dark room you've literally never been in before. What do? You move slowly, you're super careful, your heart rate goes up, and maybe you even feel a little scared. Well, that is exactly what new happiness feels like to your nervous system. It's uncertain, it feels risky. Now imagine a dark room you've been in 100 times. You still can't see anything, it's still dark and uncomfortable, but you know exactly where the table is, you know exactly where the door is, and you know exactly where you might bump your toe. That is old pain. It's uncomfortable for sure, but it is entirely predictable, and our brain absolutely loves predictability. The absolutely crucial paradigm shift here is changing how we actually define that word comfort. As far as your brain is concerned, comfort doesn't necessarily mean pleasant or warm or fuzzy. It just means predictable. This is exactly why people stay in bad relationships way longer than they should. They aren't weak. They're just used to the environment. They know the script. They know exactly how the arguments are going to go. They know when the awful silence will come, and they even know when the sorry will eventually show up. It's kind of like watching the exact same bad movie again and again. You know the ending is terrible, but at least you aren't confused about what happens next. Section 2. Chaos as comfort. Why peace feels wrong. Now, this predictability bias doesn't just happen during big, dramatic life events. It infiltrates our daily routines, making actual peace feel somehow wrong. Imagine trying something healthy for a change. You start a peaceful relationship, you set up a great new morning routine, or you finally let go of a chaotic friend who just brings you down. Sounds amazing in theory, right? But internally, your brain just throws up its hands in a total panic and screams, wait, what is this? This is new. There's no drama. Are we safe here? And this brilliantly illustrates how our best intentions just get totally hijacked. You set a conscious intention to find a peaceful relationship, but internally you start missing the chaos. You start thinking, maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe I should just text them. You didn't suddenly become less wise. You just became more comfortable with your old pain. Or maybe you tell yourself, okay, I want to stop procrastinating and focus. You sit down to work and immediately your brain defaults to scrolling social media. Not because you're lazy, but because distraction is your brain's familiar comfort zone. And what happens when you just try to relax and do absolutely nothing? Boom, your brain jumps straight to 2 a.m. overthinking. You know it stresses you out, but doing nothing feels unfamiliar. Thinking nonstop feels normal. So it really all boils down to this. Better the stress I know than the peace I don't understand. Think about people who constantly complain about being stressed out all the time, but the minute life gets quiet, they get restless. They start picking a fight or finding some brand new problem to fix. That isn't peace feeling boring to them, that is chaos feeling normal. Their minds have been trained to function in noise, so when silence finally shows up, it literally feels like a threat. Section 3. The discomfort of growth, redefining what feels wrong. If our brain is out here misinterpreting peace as danger, well, we need a massive paradigm shift. Here is the reality we absolutely have to accept. Just because something feels comfortable doesn't mean it's actually good for you. And conversely, just because something feels uncomfortable doesn't mean it's wrong. Sometimes growth feels incredibly uncomfortable. Peace feels unfamiliar and strange. Healthy love feels slow, sometimes even boring compared to the wild roller coaster you're used to. Discipline feels monotonous, but none of those things are bad. It simply means your nervous system just isn't used to them yet. Positive life changes love to masquerade as negative feelings. Just think about when you first learned to ride a bicycle. You were shaky, you were nervous, you probably fell and scraped your knee once or twice, right? In that exact moment, just walking on your own 2 feet felt way more comfortable and safe. But imagine if you had said, yeah, no, cycling is way too uncomfortable, I'm just gonna walk everywhere forever. You would miss out on something amazing just because it felt strange and unsteady at first. And we do this exact same thing with our emotional growth. We reject better things simply because they don't feel like the solid ground we are used to. So, this requires a gentle but very firm reality check. Your comfort zone isn't always a safe place. Actually, sometimes it's just a familiar trap. It's a cage where the door is standing wide open, but we just stay inside because the layout of the bars is something we've completely memorized. Section 4. Breaking the cycle. The power of the pause. Okay, now that we know the trap is actually there, how do we, get out of it? We don't need to miraculously force ourselves to love discomfort overnight. That isn't realistic at all. Instead, we use a really practical framework. Step 1, notice the pattern. You just start paying attention to when you feel that gravitational pull backward toward old habits. Step 2, pause. This is the absolute most critical tool. Stop yourself before the action happens. Just create a gap between the impulse and the reaction. And step 3, ask yourself a very specific question. Is this what I actually want, or is this just familiar? There is a massive difference between those two things. Once you clearly see the pattern and you insert that pause, you slowly stop falling for your brain's old trick. Look, I'm not gonna lie to you, it is not gonna feel easy right away. Choosing peace over chaos is gonna feel deeply weird in the beginning. Choosing discipline over comfort is gonna feel hard. But over time, the long-term payoff is incredible. Something shifts inside you. The new gradually becomes normal. The unfamiliar becomes comfortable. One day, you will look back and think, wow, no way, I used to think that was comfort. That is true growth. It's not loud, it's not dramatic. It is just quiet, consistent changes in what we choose every single day. So if you are currently in a phase where better things just feel wildly uncomfortable to you, honestly, don't panic. It doesn't mean you are going the wrong way at all. It probably means you are finally stepping out of what has been holding you back. Sure, it might feel strange at first, but strange means new, and new is where your real life begins. So ask yourself today, what is one familiar pain you are finally ready to trade for unfamiliar peace?